Good evening, everyone, or good morning for some of you. Welcome back. We're going back into Carrier Command today to basically do a small overview on vehicle commands and orders and some of the other questions that you were asking in the previous videos. So what I'd like to do is just, like I said, show you a little bit about how to do your small vehicle control. So now, everything that I'm going to show is everything that I've just learned so far. I do want to say that I never played Carrier Command 1, so if there is anything that changed, please let me know down below in the comment section. But, start out, like I said, before I showed in the previous video, so you got all your vehicle loadouts here. So you can see you got 2 Mantas, 2 Razorbills, 2 Petrels, and 2 Albatrosses. You got a Seal, Bear, 2 Walruses, another Bear, and 3 Seals here. Now, I've already got all these modified, so viruses, like the 100mm cannon, all that good stuff. So, without further ado, like I said, so just show you a little bit about what I've learned. So what I like to do, personally, to deploy my troops is I'll click on the carrier here, and then I can select what I want to deploy. Now, you come out here, like such, as deploy the Bear, and then I can set him to go right here. Alright. Now, one of the cool things that I did figure out is you can have them set in orders. So if I wanted to, I could tell him to wait here in Alpha, and then I could set him to another waypoint, and then once I decide that I want him to deploy, I can literally just click anywhere on the map and then say Alpha Go, which will allow him to go where I want him to go, when I want him to go. Now, one of the cool things I did figure out, though, is that you can have these deploy all off of basically I like to call it a leader, basically, a squad leader. So, as you see, I just deployed that Seal, and now what I can do is, after I set this first waypoint, I can actually click on the Bear, or drag and drop to the Bear, and then wherever that Bear goes, the Seal is going to follow. You can see it on board here. So that Bear is going to go to this waypoint here, come down to Alpha, and this Seal should follow everywhere that this Bear decides to go. Now, this is extremely helpful if you want to do like a mass deployment, so that way you can have multiple troops all basically following this one Bear. Now, the reason I like to do a Bear is because he is the slowest out of all the troops, so it's going to take him the longest to get to land, and that's why they're going to follow him a lot more efficiently. So now this Bear is just going to sit here at Alpha until I tell him that I want him to leave. Alright, I'm going to wait until this Seal and this Walrus get into position, and then I will tell this Bear to move, at which point, like I said, all these other troops are going to follow this Bear. I want to point out, though, that I have already captured this island, so I'm just using it as a safe zone, basically, so that I can show you guys all this stuff. Alright, the Seal is over here with the Bear. I'll go to the camera view so you can see. Because basically they're just going to sit here and patrol until I tell them to move. It's kind of funny because they'll sit here and just do circles. Now, the one downfall to this is that they are going to use fuel the whole time that they're in that holding pattern. You got to keep that in mind because the Bear is extremely fuel inefficient, so it will use a lot of gas. As you can see, I mean, I've barely deployed him and he's already almost down 10%. So now, like I was saying, is I can click on anywhere in the map, click Alpha Go, and now that Bear is going to start moving towards land. And then you will see that the Walrus and the Seal will follow him. Like I said, it's extremely helpful so that you can mass deploy troops, and you don't have to worry about setting each individual points or any of that good stuff. Some of the other questions that I've seen is that some people can't figure out how to make patrol patterns. So I am just going to deploy my Manta out here right now. I'm going to set him to an elevation of, let's say, 500. And now, for every waypoint that I set after this point will be at an elevation of 500. But I can come here and just do like this. And now you will see that there is a little circle pattern right here. Basically, I've just set him on a patrol path. The way to set him on a patrol path is, like I said, you're just going to have all these waypoints, or you don't have to have this many, and then you just set it to another connecting waypoint. Just to show you, you can also do it literally so he just flies back and forth. So I can have him literally come over here and then just do a patrol back and forth like that. That sounds like we're about to run aground. Oh well. There's our Manta. As you can see there, that beautiful, beautiful plane. I really do enjoy how much they took the time into basically developing this game and making it look so beautiful. Because even though it does have a Stormworks feel and it's real blocky and all that stuff, that plane just looks gorgeous. So, there goes the Manta. And now he will come over here to this waypoint and then patrol back and forth between these two waypoints. But we'll come back in and check on him. For now, I also want to deploy a Petrel and show everybody how to do airlifts, because that is another question I've been getting a bunch of. So that way you can see how to do airlifts. Makes it extremely easy. One of the other questions I did get was that if the Walrus could do refueling on other ground vehicles. To my knowledge, no. But that is still to be discovered. I am still uncovering parts of the map. So there's still plenty of utility things out there, and I'm not sure if they have fuel tanks for ground vehicles so that you can do that. But in the future, if I do find out, I will be sure to let you know. So now, like I said, is that Manta, he's just going to sit there and patrol back and forth. The Mantas don't really like going straight back and forth like this, but the Razorbills can do that. So I'm just going to do this. Do a small little pattern here. Alright. And here's our Petrel. So now, let's just say... Because in order to do a airlift, what you have to have is another individual waypoint. If I try and take my Petrel and just do like this right here, if you notice, it doesn't give me anything. It's just going to go over there and hover around that ground vehicle, okay? So what you're going to have to do is set another individual waypoint. From this waypoint, you're going to come over here and basically highlight one of these vehicles. From which point you'll see that there is a little winch icon right above the ground vehicle, which tells you that the Petrel has been given the command to do an airlift. Now what makes this a little easier is if you would set the altitude a little bit lower, so that way he comes in and picks it up at a lower altitude. Otherwise, we're going to sit there and watch this Petrel basically hover right over top of him for like ever, because he's flying in from an altitude of 400 feet. But as you can see, our Petrel is up there, hovering right above. He's going to decrease in elevation and pick up our Walrus. Slowly but surely. Give you guys a view from the Petrel. As you can see, he's currently at 80 feet, 70 feet. I believe once he gets down to 30 feet is where he'll physically pick up the vehicle. This is extremely useful for if you want to get your vehicles in and out of an area extremely quickly. You'll see it here in a minute. He's going to pick up the walrus. Eventually. But you'll know on the map when he's picked it up, because this little icon is going to go away and the vehicle will no longer be on the map. So now if we check back in, you will see he has the walrus in tow. Now, from this point, you can actually do like quick extracts. So if you wanted to, you could fly him back to the helicopter or fly him back to the carrier. And that's how you can do a quick extract. Or if you wanted to, let's say, come over here and fly him over to this thing, such as like a seal with viruses. Once you set a waypoint over here, you're going to click on this waypoint and say deploy vehicle. Now, when you do that, what this petrel is going to do is he's going to fly over here and he's going to drop that vehicle wherever you tell him to drop it. The petrel, to my knowledge, is the only vehicle in the game right now that can actually airlift vehicles. And you can set these up with like gas tanks and stuff like that, so that way they can basically have long excursions. Now, the only thing I have noticed is that with mass deploying and all that stuff is that when you're doing it when you try to tell them to follow for returning to the carrier, they can kind of get clustered up and get stuck on the ship. So I would highly advise just individually returning back to home when you're sending back your vehicles to your carrier. Sorry, had a little cluster there. So, like I was saying, is this petrel is going to come over here now. He's going to drop this vehicle. So if you come down, you'll see he is decreasing in elevation. And this also works with your seal as well. So if you wanted to come over here and let's just say you wanted your seal to come over and drop his viruses right here, you just say deploy vehicle, because the viruses on the seal are technically vehicles. So what you do is just do the same thing. You just set a waypoint and then click on it, tell it to deploy vehicle. What I personally would like to do, though, is I would usually have my seal off on a holding pattern off of the island. And then once I get the island clear to where I want, I can go ahead and send in my seal. But I usually send him in with a petrel. So that way it's a lot easier for him to basically get in and get out. Alright. The petrel has now dropped off the walrus. So I can go now, take the petrel to some other location. Or the walrus, rather. Oh, that's being weird now. What the heck? How was my manta destroyed? Oh well. Maybe he crashed into the island. Who knows? Alright, there you go. Because now you can see the viruses have been deployed. Just like I was saying. But most of these commands will work for most vehicles. Or excuse me, all vehicles. You just got to be careful though, because when you're just doing it for an Albatross, for example, if you don't set the altitude properly, you will be able to crash it into the island, because they're going to listen to whatever commands you give them. So you just got to be extremely careful with that. Same with the Razorbills. The Mantas are usually pretty good about not flying into the island, but it can happen. Petrels, they're usually okay. So, like I said, that was just a brief overview on how to give orders and stuff to your vehicles. If you are enjoying this content, please feel free to like and subscribe so that way you can stay tuned for more future content on Carrier Command 2 as it progresses, and so other future games that I play in the future. So, wish you all the best. Thank you all, Lemon Army, for sticking around. And I wish you guys the best rest of your day. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.